We're gonna pump it up.
I got my air jack under
Pump
there.
it up. Pump it. Pump it up. Pump it up, people. Pump it up, people.
I'm Cody with Hitch to Hitch. Corbin's behind the camera. I've already gotten started on redoing the bearings, changing out the seals, and checking out the brake pads on the trailer since we got back. We've got about 15 to 18,000 miles on the camper, so I figured it was about time to do that, and I wanted to make sure our brake pads were good before we leave again to head up the East Coast. Basically what I did was I pulled the tires off. I've done these two axles already. And then now we're going to pull the hub off. You take a screwdriver and you pop your lock off. And you grab your nut, take the nut off.
That'd be cool to have gloves on and do that. That looks fun, having gloves on and getting grease.
So you can count, like when your nut's on here, you can count how many threads, and the threads will tell you a roundabout about where you're going to go back. I know it's about 3 on each one, so watch, you're going to get in that grease. All right, clean my hand just a little bit so I don't get it all over everything. All right, and then what you do is you take and you're going to pull with one hand and tap with the other, and that'll knock it loose. So on this side, I need to do the other side still. Pull the tires off. You pull your caps, pull your bearings out, and then pull the hubs off. Check the inside of your hubs, check your brake pads and all that good stuff. And then I've been popping these seals out. I did have one bad seal that was letting grease into my hub, which is in here, and the brake pads were getting full of grease.
Dad.
So there you go. So basically the way these work is there's a magnet that touches right here in the center. And when you press the brakes, the magnet pulls to the drum, and as it pulls to the drum, it forces the brakes out the more it goes to the drum. Corbin, they don't want to get dizzy, dude.
Okay.
All right, thank you. So now what I'm doing, I'll repack this bearing already, and here I'll show you. I stuck it back in there. So I'm gonna check that out. Looks yummy, huh? Yep. But anyway. Bearing in there.
It does look yummy.
Full of grease. And then now I'm going to put the seal in. You're supposed to have a flat block or something like that to put the seal in, but I don't normally do that, and I don't have a block handy. I tried to use a brake and it just broke the brake. So basically what you do is you feel it and you get it going, and then you tap on the opposite side. You want it to go down as flat as you can get it. So it's fairly flat now, so you just kind of tap all the way around. All right, so the seal is flush with this. So basically what I do when I try to hit it where it's right here on the edge, so it hits that metal, and you can hear that ping when it gets flat. So I've got the seal in there and it's flat all the way around. So take it and I can wipe this off. So anyway, we're gonna take you down here and show you the hub real fast down here, and then I'll show you me putting it back on. Here's my front bearing. There's your nut, and then this is the locker. But basically this is your hub. So this is part of your axle that comes out here. This is the spindle. This is that magnet that goes on the inside. So as this sucks out, it forces these brake pads out, which push on your the inside of that drum. So this is the pads. I'd say they're probably maybe an eighth worn out of the total. I'm not exactly sure what these were brand new, but they still look good. So I'm not worried about that. They're self-adjusting brakes, so I don't have to adjust them. But Corbin's gonna video me putting it back on. I'm gonna show you one more thing real fast. So what I did was, I don't know if you can see all the grease inside there, so I repacked the inside with grease. See this side? I filled it back in with grease after I pulled the old grease out. And the reason I did that is because these are those self-lubricating or something like that. I don't remember what they call these axles, but they got this little nipple right here that you feed grease into. And what it does is it feeds it through the spindle and it comes out right there where that little spot is. And then it pushes it through the bearing, fills the inside chamber up, and then it pushes it back out through the other bearing. And that seal helps keep that grease in and from getting into your brakes. So basically it'll feed it through the spindle and back this way. It just pushes it out, which I'll show you later when I top the brakes off. So before I pulled it out, I went ahead and pumped a bunch of grease in here, which filled that back bearing, so I didn't have to pack it. It packed it for me. And I took the old grease out. I've got me a bag here full of rags and stuff. Make sure you got plenty of rags if you do this. So basically I'm gonna slide the whole hub back on, and then I'm going to clean these up just a little bit and slide them back in, and then put the nut back on. Go ahead and feed grease through until it pushes it out of this one and I see new grease, and then that means both bearings will be packed, and I can put the whole tire back on. So it's not too bad. It's fairly quick, fairly easy. All right, here you go. You can hold it. All right, let's put the hub back on.
So we're about to put the hub back on.
All right.
It's a nice sunset out there, as you can see.
All right.
And
this is heavy.
And it's very heavy. So the tire is right here. As you can see, it's a monster.
Right. So the hub's back on, and then you can see how it still wobbles a little bit. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this bearing here and I'm gonna wipe it off. There's your washer. I'm just gonna wipe it off a little bit. All right. And grab a little bit of that new grease.
This is going to be a long video there, Dad.
No, it'll be fine.
So, he's grabbed some grease.
I got some new grease here. I'm just going to throw a little
that
bit
looks
in
like
that hole.
jelly, for sure. Like, I'm serious, it looks like jelly.
There you go. So, I'm pushing this bearing in, and at the same time, I'm moving this. You see how it just popped in there? So now it's all the way in. All right, now we're going to take our washer. Now if you see our washer, it looks like a D. See the little line right there? So the axle has a line right here, so it only slides on one way, so it can't spin. So we put that on, and then this is our nut. We take our nut, screw it on. All right, once you get that on, I'm gonna get a pair of pliers. We'll tighten it down, but we don't leave it tight. All right, there's certain torque specifications for this, just like everything else, and I don't know them, so I do it my way. But basically, I tighten that down. All right, once I get that tight, then I take my grease gun, put it on there, and we start pumping grease. Here we go, we're starting to see grease now, watch. You're really gonna see it. Hold it up a little closer for him, Corbin. There you go. Now you can really see the grease coming out. So that means it's packing the bearing. I'm pushing the old grease out of the bearing and the new grease in.
Wait, is that the old grease?
Yes, sir. Watch the camera. There you go. So that's all the old grease. So take the grease gun off. All right, now I'm gonna take and get some pretty jelly here. All right, that's pretty much old grease and some new grease.
Of that stuff?
And then I'm gonna put it in my bag over here with all my trash. All right.
Want some of that stuff for sure?
All right, then.
Looks like some good jelly.
All right, you can back up a little bit. All right, so now what I'm gonna do is take my pliers. All right, I back my nut back off a little bit. All right, and then I'm just gonna hand tighten it. So once I hand tighten it, I'm gonna spin this. All right, you can hear that brake pad catching in there.
That.
All right, so now I'm gonna just make sure this is hand tight. What you looking at with the camera, dude? All right, so you just make sure your nut's hand tight. All right, and then here's your lock. All right, so on the lock is a little nipple right here as well. So it's still got that little D shape into it. So you make sure you put it right there where that D shape is, and it pops right on. So there you go. And then I like to push on the top and make sure this thing doesn't rock at all. Because if it rocks, then you still have to tighten this up. But I know that's about the amount of threads that I had when I pulled it off. So we're good there. Now,
put the tire back on.
Clean up the outside just a little bit.
Yep. And then you put the tire on.
Almost. So this is the cap. Now, let's see if I can show you. Come see, Corbin. All right. So here's the old grease compared to the new grease. So the old grease is a little blacker than the new grease is red. So you can really see the difference. And this is the same Dexter grease that I've been using. So this is new grease, that's old grease. So you can see how it's gotten old and hot and all of that, and it's just time to change it out. So I clean out all the old grease and filled it up with new grease, and we're gonna be good to go. All right, so we take the cap. We put the cap on. You wanna make sure this goes on even. I have a rubber mallet that I use, but you can use a hammer. You just gotta be easy with it. But take it, tap that cap all the way around, and it's on. Let's put your little dust cover back on.
And then you put the 2 nuts on.
All right.
Put the tire back on. And you're done.
All right, so basically, I've done these 2 axles, and this is a Dexter grease. I ordered it from Dexter in tubes. It comes in a case. I think I've got like 10 of them or something like that. And then here's the new seals. That's what a seal on the back side looks like. So I got 3 more for the other side. So the tools you'll need is, I got a breaker bar to take the tires off. I got my torque wrench to put the tires back on. Got brake cleaner. Not yet. Got grease. I've got this little tool here, but you can use a screwdriver. Use a screwdriver, hammer. Said that backwards. But you'll need that. Probably a bag for trash, some rags. I got some gloves right there. A little seat wouldn't hurt. And I've got my air jack under there to lift the axle up. I just put it on the axle as close to the tire as I can, because I lift it up just enough to get the tire on and off. Let me try it.
Do it?
Yeah. All right, stop there. Let me check it.
What are we going to have for dinner?
She's on. All right, you can set that down. All right, basically now put the tire back on. Just make sure you go straight across on each side. And that'll be a wrap.